Sure, we love the Disney World parks and all, but that doesn't mean we promise to be by their side for better or for worse, right? Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Over the past few years, we've seen the Disney parks undergo a lot of major changes. Some of those changes we might have said, okay, sure, to, well, others, they weren't exactly a lot of people's cups of tea. Today, I'm talking about some of the worst changes Disney World has encountered recently. But not only that, I'll also talk about how you can still navigate around these changes to make sure your upcoming trip is going to lean heavily toward the better scale and not the worse one. Deep breath. In and out. Okay, you've braced yourself. Good. Let's jump in. We're going to start with those hundreds of price increases. I'm about to hit you with 2 words that'll haunt you throughout the rest of this video, and that's price inflation. Leave a sour taste in your mouth? Yeah, us too. It always makes us queasy to see prices creep upwards, even if it doesn't seem too terribly significant at first. But even if one itsy bitsy pebble tossed to you doesn't hurt too badly, hundreds of pebbles tossed to you is bound to leave a bruise or two, and that's what happens to your budget. Just recently, Disney experienced a lot of $1 to $3 price increases for items like Dole Whips, Mickey Waffles, ice cream products, sodas, Mickey pretzels, and lots of other park snacks. And not only that, but Disney prices have also increased for other essential vacation costs like theme park tickets, resort stays, and specialty events. And by the way, that whole ticket thing, yes, Disney will tell you that you are still paying the same low price for the tickets that you paid the low price for last year. The problem is there are a lot more days that the tickets cost more. So why? Is Disney trying to bully us, holding us by the ankles and shaking the milk money out of our pockets? Well, truth is, Disney already knows how big of an issue inflation has become for guests, because inflation is a concern everywhere. I'll skip all the financial lingo for now. You can always read more about that on our DFB posts that address these issues more in depth, which I'll link down below. But what I will mention is that Christine McCarthy, Disney's chief financial officer, stated in a 2021 Q4 earnings call that the high inflation rates are on the minds of every CFO and every senior management team on every company out there. So how can you also be mindful of these price increases without having to obsess over them on your Disney vacation? Let's explore 4 different solutions for 4 different price increases. Starting with snacks. When it comes to snack prices, you can always keep track of the price changes on our website. Yeah, another shameless plug, but it's true. DFB reporters are in the parks every day checking on these price updates, listening in on the Q4 earnings calls, checking the menus so you don't have to. That way we can create a list of posts and latest news videos revolving around any price changes we notice in the parks. You can sign up for our newsletter to get all these updates sent directly to your inbox, and best of all, this information doesn't cost you a thing. Next up, ticket prices. If you want to save money on your theme park tickets, check the Disney World ticket calendar before you book your vacation. Ticket prices do fluctuate depending on what time of year you're wanting to go, because ticket prices are date-based. So the more popular times are going to cost more. It's basically surge pricing. But if you have a fairly flexible schedule, you can plan your vacation around when ticket prices are the cheapest. In mid-August through September, which historically has been more of a non-peak season for the Disney parks, park ticket prices range between $105 to $112 per day per person. But when you look at Disney World's more popular months, like December during the Christmas season, prices are higher and range between $122 and $141 per day per person. You can also save money by choosing to skip ticket add-ons like Park Hopper or Park Hopper Plus Perks, which would wind up costing an extra $65 to $85 per ticket. All right, hotel prices is next. So it's a ton of fun to stay on Disney World property. You can save a big chunk of change by choosing to book a room at one of Disney's Good Neighbor hotels. These hotels are third-party companies. They partner with Disney and are still super close to the parks, even if they aren't all located within property itself. You can scroll through all the different Good Neighbor options on www.goodneighborhotels.com. But if your heart is set on staying in a Disney-owned hotel, you can always check out the Disney World website's special offers, deals, and discounts page. Currently, you can sometimes save $20 to $100 per night per room. You can sometimes save 20%, 25%, 30%, sometimes even 40% on your rooms through Disney's regular special offers. So definitely check those out. And if you want to stay at a Good Neighbor hotel, don't forget we always recommend the Swan and Dolphin resorts over there right next to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. They're on Disney World property. They're within walking distance of Hollywood Studios and Epcot and the Skyliner. They do have resort fees, which increases their price tag a tiny bit, but the prices in general are much lower than you're going to get for comparable Disney deluxe hotels. So we always recommend the Swan and Dolphin. That's where I like to stay if I'm wanting to stay at a Good Neighbor instead of a Disney hotel. Now, moving on to after hours prices. As far as specialty events go, I'm thinking along the lines of those after hours parties like Boo Bash and Disney Very Merriest. My best advice for those: research. You don't have to go to an after-hours event, but it is good to know that the prices for them have significantly increased within the past few years, even though the after-hours offerings were actually scaled back after the 2020 closures. So check out the reviews of our personal party experiences, weigh the pros and cons of whether you should invest in one this year. But if you do decide to go, consider just purchasing a ticket for an after-hours event instead of doubling up and purchasing full-day tickets on top of the after-hours tickets. Yep, those are two separate things. So decide to invest in one or the other to avoid having to double dip on the ticket expenses. Because don't forget, with your after-hours ticket, you can get in a few hours earlier than the after-hours event actually starts. Okay, the second worst change in Disney World history that we need to talk about right now is price increases for previously free benefits. Now, every now and then, I think back to the days when I could plan out my fast passes, make a reservation for Disney's Magical Express, and freely park at a Disney World hotel without seeing it show up on my tab after I check out. Alas, these free Disney World benefits are now things of the past. Instead of fast passes, we now have the Disney Genie Plus and individual attraction selections, and instead of Disney's Magical Express, we've got the paid Mears Connect and the Sunshine Flyer taking us to and from the Orlando International Airport. Instead of free services, we got premium services. As frustrating as it is to be smacked with extra cost after cost on top of your already expensive Disney World trip, let's break down a few of the things you need to keep in mind. This is why you watch us. This is why we're here. This is what we do all day, every day. First off, Disney hasn't gotten rid of all the complimentary services. You can learn more about them on DFB's 30 Things That Are Still Free video that I did not too terribly long ago. But a few noteworthy items on that list include several birthday freebies, celebration buttons, transportation services inside the property. That's right, you're not paying for the buses that take you from your hotel to the theme parks yet, and several resort-based activities. And if you're staying in a Disney World hotel, you still do get early entry to the parks without paying for it yet, unless, of course, you say that you're paying for it by staying in the Disney World hotel, which, touche. Now, I'm not trying to pull a Wizard of Oz move and tell you to pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, because yeah, not having access to the previously free stuff hurts our feelings too. But there are still many services Disney World provides that do come alongside your vacation purchase, and you should take advantage of those when given the chance. Now, when it comes to services that now charge extra moolah for you to access them, remember to A, do your research and decide if these premium features will be vital to your vacation, and B, save the extra money in case any expenses sneak up on you during your trip. Not every service you have to pay for is going to be necessary for you to have a successful Disney trip. You don't have to invest in any individual attraction selections to ride Disney's most popular rides. Disney's not going to kick you out of their parks just because you decide to say thanks but no thanks to their costly perks. If you want a detailed video about the new Genie service while doing your research, I've got an entire video breaking down all the Disney Genie hacks, which not only explores how much you're going to wind up paying for the premium features, but also explores the free portions of this tool as well. In some cases, you may find the Disney Genie's complimentary features to be just as handy as the premium ones, while in other cases, it may still be vital for you to invest in the ability to use lightning lanes so you can bypass those giant queue lines during your vacation. And you may not be too keen on this piece of advice, but I gotta lay it all out for you anyway. If these new expenses are something you want to invest in, but you don't have the budget for at the moment, don't force yourself to take a trip you're not ready for financially. It's better to put off your vacation for a year or so and save up rather than force yourself to take the vacation and wind up stressing over costs the whole time. I know it's a hard decision and I get it, so no judgment at all. We've all done it, but just a little heads up, you're going to have a better time if you're going on a vacation that you feel comfortable paying for, if there is such a thing, than if you're basically kind of stressing about how much this actually costs the whole time. The next worst change in Disney World history and how to survive it is Walcott. Nothing says Disney magic like being caught in a labyrinth of walls, right? No? Epcot's been undergoing a lot of significant updates recently, and with these updates comes a bunch of construction walls. Now, those walls aren't ugly. Disney does their best to keep up with the theming by making them colorful and decorating them with characters, but that doesn't totally take away the fact that some of the initial magic is lost when we're welcomed to Epcot like a mouse would be welcomed into a maze. Literally. So take comfort in knowing these walls aren't forever. When they come tumbling down, the reimagined parts of Epcot will be there, bringing with them a new attraction, Journey of Water, inspired by Moana, a new ride, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, a new dining location, Creations Cafe, and a new centerpiece, a statue of Walt Disney that'll be aptly named Dreamer's Point. If Disney World is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for you, or or if it's a vacation you don't take very often, then you may want to wait on an Epcot trip until these walls are gone to experience all the newness that this park transformation will someday offer. Epcot's 40th anniversary is this year in October. Maybe a lot of those walls will be gone by then, fingers crossed. But if you frequent Disney parks often, those walls might be an eyesore, but you should still have a good time at Epcot nonetheless. The World Showcase is still hopping, the rides are still open, and the food is still bussin'. Okay, the next worst change in Disney World history, those pandemic-induced closures and uncertainties, right? Since the 2020 park closures, Disney's been riding a wave of ever-changing health and safety regulations. We've seen experiences close for extended periods, restaurants take on modified hours and menus, face mask regulations adjust to CDC guidelines, and then back again, and dates for upcoming park releases postponed, or at least wavering with elusive dates with no specifics attached. We're still waiting to hear when the Disney dining plan will return. It's been promised, but we haven't heard anything about it. Same goes for annual pass sales, minivan rides, and Tables in Wonderland memberships. And even though many entertainment-based options have slowly but surely started to return to the parks, we're still waiting to hear about several experiences like Hoop-De-Doo Review at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and the Citizens of Hollywood and Disney's Hollywood Studios. Outside of Disney World specifically, several other Disney parks and experiences around the world have been feeling the impact of this global pandemic for the past 2 years too. Overseas parks have been forced to shut their doors more than once, and Disney's newest cruise ship, the Disney Wish, has experienced several delays in their grand opening. Currently, it's projected to set sail for the first time this summer, but was just postponed for an extra month. Now, it's hard to book your next trip when things are going to happen. You're looking forward to when things are going to finally open or reopen, and we really have no idea when that's going to be. It's even more difficult when the climate of the world feels decidedly unstable. And though we can't fix uncertainty for you, we can at least prepare for it with you. When it comes to guidelines, you can check on Disney World's website or the DFB website to keep in the loop about the latest health and safety regulations for the parks. On February 17th, Disney switched up their masking mandates once again. Right now, face masks are optional for vaccinated guests in both outdoor and indoor locations on Disney property, and face masks are required for both vaccinated and unvaccinated guests on most Disney transportation. That being said, it's always good to stay in the know before your trip just in case a mandate like this changes again, because it probably will. Disney's mindful when it comes to keeping their parks clean, so sanitization procedures are in place to make sure rides, queues, walkways, kitchens, restrooms, and other frequently used areas are wiped down regularly. But that doesn't mean cast members can clean rides after every ride through, otherwise you'd never get through the Rise of the Resistance line. So I highly recommend you wash your hands before or after you get on a ride and use that hand sanitizer, because hand sanitizing stations have been added throughout the parks for your convenience, but I love to bring my own hand sanitizer because I like it better. Now, when it comes to paused services, things like annual passes can be paused at any time, so if you see them come back online, it's best to snag them quickly. While most annual passes are still unavailable per the release of this video, use this time to save back money since they are a pretty penny to purchase. Then you'll be ready to seal the deal ASAP when they do return. For the Disney Dining Plan and Tables in Wonderland memberships, which are two very different concepts but both have to do with the way you pay for your meals at Disney, I'll link our posts about each in the description below. You can still plan and budget for your meals without these services to get a good idea of how much exactly you'll be needing to save when it comes to dining. Set aside an evening for you and your group to research restaurants, menus, and price ranges. And heads up, the Disney Dining Plan usually didn't save you that much money in the first place. It just helped you prepay for your meals. So planning ahead and budgeting accordingly should basically get you the same thing. Now, if you need a hand on this, if you're looking for a place that includes all these Disney menus, price ranges, and reviews in one easy-to-navigate location, then consider checking out the DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining. This is packed with over 700 pages of all things Disney dining, including restaurant hours, updated menu prices, location information, and of course, lots of our own recommendations. But we're all about saving the big bucks here, so you can use code YouTube at the checkout to save some money on this downloadable guide. We pour our heart and soul into this guide. Twice a year, we update it. We want to make sure that you have the best source of information you possibly can when you are planning your Disney World trip. I'm glad you're here watching these videos with us, but that particular guidebook has literally everything I know in my brain right there that you can click around and read as much as you want. It's an ebook and it's 100% money back guaranteed. If you want to buy it, you can head over to dfbstore.com. All right, now when it comes to private transportation, though minivans remain unavailable, you can still order a ride share through the Uber or Lyft app to get a more private trip to and from wherever you're wanting to go around Disney World property. Will your Uber or Lyft be bright red and sport white polka dots and have two really, really clean, really, really nice Car seats and even a car seat for your dog? Probably not, but it'll still get the job done. Just keep in mind that much like a minivan, you will have to pay a separate cost for a more private ride. These prices will fluctuate depending on demand and season. So when it comes to overall uncertainty, you know how I mentioned earlier you should put off booking a trip to Disney if you don't feel financially ready to take on the budgeting burden just yet? Well, let me just copy and paste that advice for you and slap it right here too. If you want to take a Disney World trip when those new or returning rides and attractions have finally opened, then you'll probably want to wait to book a trip for when you do hear about exact release dates. Otherwise, you might wind up going to Disney prematurely and missing a big opening you were looking forward to, like Tron Light Cycle Run in Magic Kingdom or the return of Fantasmic in Disney's Hollywood Studios. You can learn about any future release dates here, of course, or on the Disney World website or on our newsletter. We've got it all on there. Even when a ride or show does come up with an exact release date, it's best to plan a vacation for maybe 2 or so months after that release. Though it's a ton of fun being one of the first people to experience a new ride or show, these attractions may still be working through a few kinks. Like, while Rise of the Resistance still breaks down pretty regularly, during the first few weeks it broke down multiple times a day. So ride breakdowns will more than likely be more frequent during the first couple of months of a debut, not to mention the lines. Because of Disney World's new ability to switch the most popular rides to a boarding group, aka virtual queue system, there is a chance you could wind up going to Disney to experience one of these new rides and not get a boarding group because they're all booked up for the day. Now, I'm not for sure saying these new rides will have a virtual queue system in place, but if Remy's Ratatouille Adventure and Rise of the Resistance taught us anything, it's that Disney World likes using this tool to manage crowd levels for those new experiences when they first open. Want to learn more about boarding group systems? I'll link an old Remy's Ratatouille Adventure post in the description below so you can see how it looked in action. And as far as the climate of the world is concerned, go to Disney World when you feel ready. This is a big undertaking to plan for. If you're feeling uneasy about the lingering impacts of the pandemic, Disney is currently experiencing an influx of crowds during a usually historic down season, and if you feel uncomfortable being surrounded by the masses during unpredictable times, start preparing now for a trip later down the road, like 2023 or maybe 2024, instead of cramming for an upcoming trip that becomes less relaxing and more stressful for you to plan for and even experience. Okay, next on our list of the worst changes in Disney World history and how to survive them are those pandemic-induced shortages. So we're piggybacking off the last point for a second. The pandemic hasn't just caused a whirlwind of closures and unpredictability, it's also led to shortages when it comes to staffing, food, and merchandise in Disney World. Very rarely, historically speaking, has Disney World struggled with staffing issues, but during the 2020 closures, they laid off 28,000 people and had to stop programs like the Disney International program, which is still on pause, and the Disney College program, which has now returned. When the park started opening back up and park capacity began to increase, Disney tried to staff back up quickly by offering huge bonuses to get people to come back on board. But even with these bonuses, Disney is still experiencing staffing shortages to this day. Staffing dropped drastically again when the new Omicron variant arose, forcing several counter service restaurants, kiosks, shops, and even shows to become temporarily unavailable. Staffing shortages haven't just been impacting Disney, though. They've been happening everywhere, meaning Disney's suppliers for their food, beverages, and condiments have also been experiencing setbacks, leading to Disney's restaurants having inconsistent operating hours or running out of certain menu options for days on end. And although Disney souvenirs still seem to be filling the shelves at first glance, you may notice that certain gift shops remain closed around Disney World property due to merchandise shortages. To make stores look more filled out, Disney will often remove empty shelves from their shops that they just can't keep stocked. People have also been limited on how many items of certain products they're able to purchase. If an item is more popular, Disney will put up a sign limiting purchase to 2 items per guest, which could be due to the pandemic, could be due to, eBay sellers. And not to mention, the releases of certain merchandise have been majorly delayed. Even now, we're seeing 2021 Christmas items and previous Epcot Festival items just now stocking the gift shop shelves. Even the Epcot Scavenger Hunt prizes have been impacted by this. Instead of Festival of the Arts prizes, many people who have completed the game are receiving Frozen plates, which are adorable, sure, but they were also supposed to be the prize for Olaf's Scavenger Hunt during the Festival of the Holidays. The Stitch Crashes Disney series was also impacted by release delays. Originally, this merchandise series featuring different Stitch-themed plush, mugs, shirts, and pins was supposed to have a new design for every month in 2021. But now we're well into 2022 and this entire series still hasn't made its full release. So how can you navigate these shortages? Well, navigation step 1, patience. The cast members who are currently staffed do a fantastic job of making magical moments, but they need some magical moments in return. Disney cast members are not only working long hours for several days in a row, but many of them are also new and have to learn all the ropes to help keep the most magical place on Earth up and running. So don't be afraid to strike up a nice short conversation while completing a transaction or waiting in line. Ask a cast member how their day is going or compliment them on a job well done. It's the little things that can keep people fueled and motivated during these difficult times. And if you have a standout experience during a cast member interaction, you can shout them out on the cast member compliments portion of the My Disney Experience app. Or for an even quicker and easier approach, you can use the hashtag CastCompliment on Twitter, tag at WDW Guest Services, and mention the cast member you want to shout out by name. The cool thing about cast compliments is if you give a cast compliment to a cast member, they actually get a printed certificate talking about their cast compliment, which is very, very cool. All right, navigation step 2, set expectations. So no, you're not going to go to Disney World only to find that everything is closed. Most businesses are up and running currently, but if there's a certain food item you're wanting to try, always have a backup plan just in case. This is especially important when it comes to Epcot festivals, since supplies can run out at these temporary kiosks even faster. Check out our complete list of festival offerings on the DFB website, and definitely plan or even overplan what you'd like to try. That way, if one item isn't available when you're there, you can quickly move on to the next one you'd like to try instead. I'll link the latest 2022 Epcot Flower and Garden Festival booth menus and food photos in the description below, so you can research on your own time before the festival kicks off. And navigation step 3, stay vigilant. If there's a popular limited edition item you're wanting to snag at the Disney parks, then prepare your wallet ahead of time. Though these items may appear on the Shop Disney website later on, more limited releases might not. You'll know an item is more limited in quantity when it has one of those limit 2 items per guest signs next to it. So if you're really wanting one, it's best to grab it when you see it before they sell out. That being said, don't just grab a more limited item for the sake of owning something more limited in stock. Make sure you're spending money on a purchase that's not going to fill you with buyer's regret later on. Okay, and the next worst change we've seen in Disney World is just how hard it's become, how complicated, how difficult, how convoluted it's become to plan. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Disney World keeps chopping up their services into multiple parts nowadays. Instead of one FastPass system we could pre-schedule before our trips, we now have 3 different sections that help plan out our ride schedules the day of our visit: Disney Genie, Disney Genie Plus, and the individual attraction selections. And planning these passes the day of means you're up and at 'em early every day that you decide to use these premium services. That way you can book your first Lightning Lane ASAP. The Disney Magical Express has turned into multiple premium transportation options like Mears Connect, Sunshine Flyer, or even a rideshare or car rental if you're looking into more private options. When annual passes go on sale again, you'll have 4 different tier services to choose from, which range not only in price, but block out dates and number of park pass reservations you're allowed to hold. Unless, of course, you're not a Florida resident, in which case you only have 1 annual pass to choose from. And extra magic hours have now split into early theme park entry and extended theme park entry, and both perks are accessed differently. Early theme park is available to all Disney Resort guests and Good Neighbor Hotel guests, allowing people to enter the park 30 minutes before any of the 4 parks officially open, as long as you've got a park pass for that park. And extended theme park entry is limited to deluxe hotel guests only and can only be used on select evenings for select parks. Basically, it's like being handed a chopped salad at a restaurant even though you never ordered one. Listen, I know all these new services are exhausting to learn and can be potentially confusing to navigate, and the DFB website breaks down a lot of these services into step-by-step, easy to digest pieces. So if one of the services I just listed still baffles you, search it on our website. We'll have an ultimate guide, we'll have a description for you. You'll be a pro in no time. We even have screenshots so you can see exactly how it works on your app. Also, make sure to download the My Disney Experience app ahead of time. Lots of the new services like Genie and mobile ordering, ticket tiers, and park hours can be accessed here, giving you some hands-on practice before you enter the parks. And don't be afraid to ask questions. We got entire posts going over questions that people were afraid to ask because they thought they should know it already. But it's understandable to still be baffled by something brand new that you have to plan around. Disney's frequently changing things up, and although they do their best to try to explain new services and perks clearly and concisely, some of the details can get lost in translation along the way. So check out a list of the most popular questions our readers asked us that they were too afraid to ask before. Who knows? They might have had the same question that you have now. So, are you ready to say I do to Disney World again, despite its worst changes? Make sure to keep up to date on the latest Disney World changes and updates and news by subscribing to our newsletter, checking out our latest DFB website posts, and watching for our latest news updates here on the DFB channel. This is why we're here, y'all. We cover all of this for you. We walk you through all the difficult decisions, questions, and confusing situations you're going to encounter when you go to Disney World, because you know what? It has become more difficult to go to Disney World in the past 2 years. And the reason why we exist is to help you translate all of that into an incredible Disney vacation for you and your family. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.